It started like any other Monday morning in the bustling heart of the city. The elevators were full, the coffee was half cold, and Emily Adams was already juggling 2 client calls before she'd even sat at her desk. A rising team lead in one of the most prestigious advertising firms in New York, she was known for being sharp, no nonsense, and impossible to impress. She never noticed the small things, like how her hair curled more in the rain or how her assistant sometimes slipped encouraging notes into her planner. But that morning, she did notice the tall, slightly awkward man standing near the break room, holding a cup of black coffee like he wasn't quite sure what to do next. His shirt was pressed, his shoes polished, but there was something endearingly out of place about him. He was clearly new. "First day?" Emily asked, offering the stranger a quick smile as she stirred her own coffee. He nodded, returning the smile with an almost bashful chuckle. "You could say that. Relax. Interns survive. Mostly," she said, giving him a playful nudge before walking away, leaving him chuckling quietly to himself. He didn't correct her. He didn't tell her he wasn't an intern. He didn't tell her that he was, in fact, the new CEO. Emily didn't think twice about the encounter. She'd always been the type to help new hires feel comfortable, to make sure they knew where the printer was, how the coffee machine worked, and which team members were closet snack hoarders. So when the intern showed up on her floor later that afternoon, quietly observing from a corner during her pitch meeting, she thought nothing of it. She even gave him a small wave mid-presentation, a gesture that earned a few amused glances from her colleagues. But to Emily, he was harmless. Quiet, observant, almost too observant, and yet, something about him made her want to talk, to share, to explain her strategies, her frustrations, her dreams for the next big campaign. And he listened, really listened. That night, she stayed back late, like she always did. And so did he. As they crossed paths again by the elevator, she laughed. Interns usually run out screaming by 6 p.m. He looked at her, really looked at her, and smiled. "Guess I'm not your usual intern." The next morning, the office buzzed with nervous energy. Everyone was whispering, adjusting their ties, brushing imaginary lint off their jackets. "The new CEO is here," her assistant whispered, wide-eyed. "Apparently, he's been observing the company quietly before his official announcement." Emily raised an eyebrow. "That's dramatic. Sounds like something out of a movie." She straightened her blouse, brushed a stray strand of hair behind her ear, and walked into the conference room where the entire upper management team had been summoned. And then she saw him, the intern, standing confidently at the head of the table, wearing the same calm smile. "Good morning," he said, his voice firmer now, more assured. "I'm Daniel Grayson, your new CEO." The room froze. Emily's heart stopped. He didn't look at her, at first. He addressed the room with professionalism, outlining his vision for the company, his respect for its culture, and his plans to lead it into its next chapter. And then his eyes met hers. For a split second, the entire room disappeared. She felt a storm of emotions rise in her chest: shock, embarrassment, betrayal, but also an odd sense of amusement. And something else, something warmer. After the meeting, she avoided him. She spent the rest of the day diving into client calls, reports, anything that would keep her mind off the fact that she had unknowingly joked with the most powerful man in the company. But later that evening, as she stood alone in the break room, Daniel walked in. He leaned against the counter, the same way he had 2 days ago. "You're mad," he said gently. Emily didn't look at him. "You let me believe you were an intern." "I did. Why? I wanted to see how people treated me when they didn't know my title," he replied. "But you didn't just treat me kindly. You treated me like a teammate. You shared your time, your thoughts, your passion. You inspired me." She looked at him now, really looked at him. "That's not fair," she whispered. "You were watching me, but I didn't even know who you were." "I wasn't watching you," he said softly. "I was meeting you." Days passed. The office slowly adjusted to the reality of having a CEO who walked the floors instead of hiding behind glass walls. Emily remained professional, but distant. She was respected, and Daniel didn't want to jeopardize that. But he kept finding excuses to talk to her. A casual comment about a campaign she was running. An email thanking her for her ideas. A shared elevator ride that turned into a 15-minute conversation about their favorite childhood books. Their interactions grew warmer, familiar, almost comfortable again, until one evening, Daniel found her sitting alone in the boardroom, staring at a campaign that had just been rejected. It was a good idea, he said. It wasn't enough, she replied. He sat beside her. You don't always have to be enough, he said quietly. Sometimes, it's enough just to care. Her eyes welled up. Why does that sound so easy when you say it? Because I've failed more than I've succeeded, he admitted. And I've learned that people matter more than plans. She looked at him, her walls slowly cracking. You're not what I expected. I hope that's a good thing, he said. Weeks passed, and something undeniable bloomed between them. Not just admiration, not just respect, but a quiet understanding, a connection that didn't need titles or roles. Late nights turned into long talks. Meetings turned into inside jokes. And finally, one night as they walked out of the building, Daniel turned to her. I never planned to feel this way, he said. Neither did I, she whispered. But I'm glad I met you as you, not as a title, he added. Because if I'd introduced myself as CEO, would you have still talked to me in that break room? She smiled. Probably not. They laughed together under the city lights, both knowing that life had just rewritten their story. Months later, Emily stood before a new group of interns, now a senior director and one of the most trusted leaders in the company. She welcomed them warmly, just like she had done with Daniel that first day. And somewhere in the back of the room, he watched her with pride, not as a CEO, but as a man who had been changed by her heart. In the end, this wasn't a story about mistaken identity. It was a story about seeing people beyond titles. About humility, kindness, and unexpected beginnings. And how sometimes, the best stories begin when we let go of who we're supposed to be, and embrace who we truly are.